Hello and good afternoon, and welcome to this webinar about batch and serialized item management in life sciences. My name is Luc van der Perre and I'm Channel Manager for the EMEA region within Boyum IT. In this webinar, I will first give you a short introduction about Boyum IT. Then I will introduce Produmex WMS to you and explain the use of combined batch information and serial numbers in the industry, upon which I will then provide a WMS demo in which you can see how Produmex WMS can manage this within the life sciences industry. So first, when we talk about Boyum, we talk about a company that has solutions used by more than 7,700 customers in 105 countries that are serviced by more than 630 reseller partners. On a daily basis, we've got more than 170,000 people using our product. Boyum has 110 employees in its software solution provider department, has 7 global offices, 8 main products, of which it releases more than 50 releases on an annual basis. If we look at the number of installations that we have at Boyum, the largest installed base is of course that of the B1 usability package, say the original solution that was brought to market by Boyum, followed by the B1 print and delivery, and then we have the later additions in the horizontal solutions with B1 iPayment, B1 MailChimp, and CRM for Outlook, which currently has already over 500 users. With BS Manufacturing, we have recently crossed the mark of more than 1,000 implementations worldwide, and of the Produmex logistics solutions, there are in total approximately 500, 242 of which are using the Produmex WMS solution. Now, at Boyum, we are looking to provide value throughout the entire supply chain, from your suppliers that deliver goods to you and that are received through our logistics solutions, Produmex Scan and Produmex WMS, that we use to manage the inbound logistics process, through to production, where we have our BS Manufacturing solution that allows for planning and scheduling, work order management, quality control, and production data collection. And on top of which, we are now developing a new cloud-based solution, Boyum Cloud, which will allow for product lifecycle management. Then in the area of advanced logistics, we have Produmex Scan and Produmex WMS, which deliver a number of functions. And then when it comes to the outbound logistics, we have within Produmex WMS multiple picking strategies, automatic replenishment, support of SCCCs, also called license plates, cross-docking shipping. And then we can deliver to customers. In order to support these processes horizontally and make them more efficient, we have then our horizontal solution, the B1 usability package, print and delivery, CRM for Outlook, B1 iPayment, and B1 MailChimp. Now, if we look at Produmex WMS, Produmex WMS is an industry-focused solution. It has a strong footprint in the regulated industries, including life sciences and food and beverage. It is focused on warehousing and distribution, but it also supports basic production and packaging. Very important to note is that the solution conforms to the GS1 industries, about which I will tell you a bit in a minute. Example industries in which Produmex WMS is a very good fit are the wholesale and distribution sector, food and beverage, industrial and consumer goods, pharmaceuticals and nutraceuticals, and we also have a specific application area for third-party logistics. Okay, so let's go down. So I told you already about the GS1 industry standards. The GS1 industry standards are identification standards that are used in the supply and demand chain. They serve to identify materials and product flows throughout the supply chain. The most important ones of those standards are related to identification of logistic units, of the identification of products through the GTIN, the Global Trade Item Number, and there is also a possibility to identify company locations to the Global Location Number. Now, the widely spread presence of GS1 is in its GS1 barcodes, where we have the GS1 or AN14 for the identification of individual products, and where we have the GS1 EAN128 for the capture of extended information about products, such as batch number, best before date, quantities, and so forth. Now, Produmex WMS also supports the electronic communication, where we have, for instance, dispatch advices or advanced shipping notifications that can be sent between suppliers and customers to give information about the products that are due to arrive. Now let's talk a bit about the use of combined batch information and serial numbers in industry. What are the industries that are affected typically by this requirement? Most of them are always in the regulated industries, like, for instance, life sciences, food and beverage, but also tobacco, automotive, consumer electronics need to be able to capture batch information as well as serialized item information. What are the reasons for implementation of such a system? Well, the reasons have to do, on the one hand, with consumer and patient safety. There is a necessity to comply with legal obligations. So manufacturers and distributors need to be able to assure full traceability up to the individual serialized item within a batch, up to the point of dispensing. For instance, in a pharmacy for the patient, where we can identify the dispensing of an individual product to a individual patient. There is also the need to comply with requirements of customers. For instance, in the current environment, import of milk powder for children in China needs to be not only batch managed, but also serialized in order to prevent the problems that have occurred with affected milk powder in China before. And there is, of course, the fighting of counterfeit products, which is a huge problem to the industry. If you look at some facts on counterfeit, it is effectively that counterfeits are flooding the market. In life sciences, for instance, 5 to 10% of pharmaceuticals are believed to be counterfeit, which represents about $200 billion of counterfeit drugs globally. Also in government environments, 40% of US military supply chain is suspected to be counterfeit. Phones are counterfeited. In tobacco and automotive, these are all examples of industries that are heavily affected by counterfeit products. In this context, it's also important to think of recalls. Recalls are more prevalent. We have now very complex supply chains, and in the case of food recalls, it is often necessary to have an item-specific recall methodology. And there is, of course, also the grey market activity that is on the rise, especially affecting luxury goods, and therefore batch and serialized item management can help ensure that goods in the market are not parallel imports. How is it possible to manage this? There is a requirement to put systems in place to manage batch managed and serialized items throughout the inbound and outbound inventory management, and also throughout production. It is necessary to register the required traceability information. And there is also a requirement to produce and submit the required regulatory reporting to the authorities and regulatory bodies. How is it possible to manage this? There is a need to be able to track all movements of goods throughout the specified stage of an extended supply chain based on batch information and serial numbers. That requires that we apply serialization, which means the assignment and application of a unique product identifier to individual packs or products which can be tracked and traced. And if we have achieved that, it is not only necessary to be able to track the products throughout the supply chain, but also to trace them. And this is the ability to identify a specific item within the supply chain at any given period. It traces ownership and transactions among trading partners. If you put such systems in place, you will be able to have full tracking and tracing across the supply chain. Let us now turn to the Produmex WMS demo, in which I will explain how Produmex WMS manages these requirements. I will first show you a few things about configuration settings, about item master data extensions for batch managed and serialized items. Then I will show you the inbound logistics process of batch managed and serialized items. So on the goods receipt and the put away, and also the inventory reporting. Then we'll go to the outbound logistics of batch managed and serialized items with the order picking and the pick and pack. And finally, I'll give you a few examples of traceability of batch managed and serialized items. Okay, so let's now go to the system. So what you see here now is sub-business 1, in which we have the Produmex WMS application running in the administrative sub-business 1 environment. So Produmex WMS offers in this administrative environment a number of logistics functions that can be used by the warehouse management staff, but also by sales and purchasing staff to consult and to consult operations, to initiate operations. And on the other hand, we have here the Produmex RF terminal on which the activities in the warehouse are executed. We support 4 main processes. We have the inbound logistics process, so from purchasing to goods receipt. We have the outbound logistics process from sales to order picking to shipping. We have the internal logistics. Processes, and we also have, of course, if required, so for companies that do production themselves, we also have a link to production where we can do picking for production, the delivery of goods to the production lines, and after production, the move back into the warehouse of the produced goods. We also have an organizational structure in Produmex for Sub-Business One, in which we define the layout and the operation of the warehouse. Now, it is important to note that Produmex WMS is transparently integrated in Sub-Business One, meaning that the inventory which is managed at the warehouse level in Sub-Business One is identical to the inventory that is managed by Produmex. Only Produmex will detail the inventory based on its own management of its own bin locations. So if you look at a warehouse, you see that this is a warehouse that is linked to the warehouse in Sub-Business One, and the stock contained within the warehouse is identical to the stock contained within the Produmex WMS system. If we open up this warehouse, you will see that we have got a number of own Produmex elements in here. So we can have a number of devices that we have in there, like printers, like scanners that we can define. We can define zones in our warehouse. For instance, a zone for our docks. So here we have the docks where we receive and where we ship goods. We can have a picking zone, and a picking zone can consist of different aisles in which we store products. We can also have zones based on a specific storage condition, like for instance here we have a freezer zone, and in that freezer zone we can also have specific storage locations that are reserved for products that need to be stored in frozen conditions. Okay. Next to that, we also have a packing zone in which we can define picking cards and packing lines where we will pack the goods and prepare them for shipping. I already mentioned that we also support production with Produmex WMS. In production, we can define production lines. We can have input production locations and output production location. We can have weighing rooms, and so that we can manage production orders on the organizational structure elements of Produmex. Okay, so that for the organization structure. There are many more parameters that we can set, and that you will also see in the demo. So for instance, we have the possibility to define reports like a goods receipt label, an item label, sales delivery note. We can define print events which initiate the automatic printing of these reports. I already told you about zone types that we can define and that we can associate with specific locations in the warehouse and also with specific products. We also have the possibility to have quality status management, where we can define whatever quality status we want to use, and we can limit the actions or the operations that can be executed for a specific quality status. So this is a brief overview of the organizational structure. Let me now turn to the item master data extensions. So if we have a look at the item master data, so let's take here an example product. So let's take this product, for instance. So what you notice here is that that on the General tab, you already see that we haven't made an extension to Sub-Business One, in the sense that Sub-Business One only allows to manage products by batches, or by serial numbers, or by none. What Produmex has added to Sub-Business One is that we have extended that with the possibility to manage a product not only by batches but also by serial numbers, that we can define whether we want to track the location of these serial numbers, and that if we want, we can specify a specific serial number format for these serial numbers, so that the system will only accept those specific serial number formats for a particular product. This is something that we define within the Produmex default forms, where we also have a possibility to define the serial number format. So for instance, here you see it is quite simple in this example that we have defined that this product is managed with serial numbers based on this format, so DEF and then 10 figures. So you will also see that when we manage or when we receive or process this product in our warehouse. On the other hand, we also have a specific Produmex tab that you can see here, and in that Produmex tab we can specify a number of specific characteristics of this product. For instance, here we have specified that it has a best before date. So when we receive this product, the system will expect to find expect to have a best before date entered. I already told you that we can also assign freezer zone types to a product. So in this case, you see that this is a product that needs to be stored in the freezer, and we can also specify a default location for that product. In the sales and purchasing tab, we can specify a number of conditions or characteristics of the product for managing it in purchase and sales transactions. So here what you see is a shelf life reception, meaning this is the time that has to be guaranteed by the supplier of this product when he delivers it to us, that we can still maintain it in our warehouse, so on our warehouse shelves, before it expires or before it passes its best before date. So in this case, a supplier needs to at least guarantee 180 days of shelf life for an inbound product. We can also have here an automatic definition for reception. So in this case, the expiry definition for reception of this product is 2 years, which you will also see in the demo later on. And the same applies, say, for sales, where we say, okay, we also have to guarantee a specific shelf life when we deliver this product to our customers. We have also characteristics for production, catch weight, which is management of items with variable weights. We can also specify specific attributes that we want to capture. So for instance, we could capture receiving and shipping temperatures. And for instance, in case of a frozen product, we could be interested to verify that the receiving temperature of a product is in line with its storage conditions. So this is a quick overview of the item master data extension. So let's now proceed with the inbound logistics process. So if we go to purchasing and we create a purchase order. So we select our vendor, our pharma supply vendor in this case, and we are going to order a product. So let's in just a moment, it's this. Okay, so here I have my product. Okay, so let's assume that we're going to purchase 50 boxes of that. So we add the purchase order, and as soon as it has been purchased, it is available to be received on the handheld terminal. So if we go now to the purchase tab and we go to reception, Then we first select the receiving dock where we are going to receive the goods. So let's say on our receiving dock 1. We can then select a filter to identify the goods receipt. So we can do that based on scanning the barcodes, and then the system will associate these barcodes with one or multiple purchase orders that are open. We can go through the order itself. Even if we have no reference to a purchase order, we can still receive the goods. And we also have the possibility to do a container receipt, meaning that we can receive multiple purchase orders in one big container. Now here we will go through the order, and there you see that we have the purchase order that I've just created. I select it. The system asks me, am I receiving identical logistic units? So identical pallets. So in this case, I'm only receiving one logistic unit. So I click on no identical logistic units. Then I could, if there is a barcode on the logistic unit, on the pallet, I could select or scan the label there. And also, if I would have a barcode of the product available, I could scan that barcode to identify it. But there is also always the possibility to bypass barcodes if they are not present. So in this case, I'm going to select the product. So you see here the product that I have ordered. He asked me to specify a batch number. He asked me to specify a best before date. So in this case, I had specified that the best before date or the expiry date is 2 years from today. So this is what he enters. I can overrule that if I want. And of course, it is so that if you have this information in a barcode, the information in the barcode will always prevail above registering it manually. And now he says, okay, I know that this is a serialized product, and he asked me to select a method for entering quantities, and that can be on the one hand individual serial numbers. So I could scan, say, all of the 50 boxes and register their individual serial number, or I could use a serial numbers range, meaning from this serial number to this serial number, or I could even receive the goods at this moment without registering the serial numbers. So I could keep them in stock without having serial numbers, and only assign the serial numbers or define the serial numbers the moment I deliver them to a customer. Now, what I have prepared in order to show you this is, I have here prepared a number of serial barcodes that you see here that I will use to identify these products now. So I'm going to opt for the option serial numbers range. So I click on serial numbers range, and then I scan my first serial number. Just a moment. Yes, and then I scan my last serial number, and he says, okay, you have entered 50 serial numbers, is this correct? I say yes. He now lists all the serial numbers in the range that I have scanned, and he registers them, and now the goods receipt is being executed. Okay, so what we see here now is the goods receipt label that is generated automatically. So it contains in human readable format the contents of this logistic unit, and it also contains the information in barcoded format. So what you see here is the SSCC, so the identification of the logistic unit. And here you have in barcoded format the GS1 128 barcode saying, okay, 02, this is the product, 15, this is the best before date, 37, this is the quantity, and 10 is the batch number. So all the information that I registered throughout the receiving process has been recorded in this goods receipt label. If I now turn to my purchasing tab in SAP again, and I go to goods receipt PO, and I call up my last goods receipt, and you see here that indeed I have received 50 boxes of this product. It's currently on my receiving dock. This is the SCCC, this is the quality status of the product. Here I've got the batch number and the best before date. In order to be able to track the inventory in Produmex in real time, we also have a specific inventory report. So if I open my inventory report and I look at my product here, so here it is, you will see that we have now this, these are the locations where I have my my product. If I click here, you see that we have got 50 boxes of our product now on our receiving dock. And if I click in my inventory report, show serial numbers, you see all the serial numbers that I have recorded within the serial number range that I scanned. Now, in the meantime, the system has created a put-away order in order to move the goods from the receiving dock into the warehouse. So if I click on put away from my receiving dock, I see here now my logistic unit, and I can scan the barcode of the logistic unit of the SSCC. Let me simulate that. I scan it. And then he's asked me to select a location. He proposes the default location, but I can also ask him provide an empty location, and then he says, okay, you could put it here. This is a backup location, so I can put it there as well. The logistic units are now confirmed to be moved, to have moved to that location. And if I refresh my inventory report, you will see that I have now my product stored at this new location. Okay, so let's now go to the outbound logistics process. So let's now create a sales order. So let's take a sales order now, where I'm going to deliver to my pharmacy Thomas. So I'm selecting the product. Here I've got it. And I register a sales order for 5 boxes. So with the delivery date of today. Okay. So the sales order has now been added. And in order to make it available on the shop floor, we have a 2-step approach. On the one hand, we first create a pick list proposal. So if I click on create pick list proposal, the system will check if there is sufficient quantity to deliver to the customer. And what you see here is that he says, okay, the ordered quantity is 5, the reserved quantity is 5, and I have a quantity of 45 boxes available, and he has reserved a particular batch for it. So you see here that he has reserved this batch number with this best before date for this pick list proposal. That is a hard allocation. It means this batch has been hard allocated to this pick list proposal, which means that this specific quantity will not be available anymore for any other pick list that I would make. So what I can do is here I'll define the shipping location will be my dock, shipping dock 1, and then I can generate the pick list. Okay, so I have now the pick list here, which has been electronically transferred to the RF terminal, but which is also possible to be printed. And so many customers work with a paper copy of the pick list on which they have the barcode of the pick list, and then operators can go into the warehouse, scan the barcode of that pick list and start picking the goods. It's also possible to do this completely electronically. Now, in order to explain what is happening now, you will see here that I have multiple batches of this product in my warehouse, and this one on top is the batch that has been reserved by my pick list. But I also have other batches. So this is a batch that has a later best before date. So what I have done now to show you how the system will block capture or picking the right product, I have here now two item labels. And so you have here an item label for the batch ending on 02 with a best before date of the 16th of April 2020, and I have here an item label for the batch with an expiry date of 26th of October 2020. So if I now go onto my my terminal and I enter the sales process, I'm going to do a normal pick operation. I have here my my pick list, and he tells me, okay, this is what you need to pick 5 boxes of this. He asked me whether I'm going to put the goods in the picking cart, and I'm going to do that indeed. So I'm going to select one of my picking carts. This is done usually by scanning the barcode that is on the picking cart, okay, for easy identification. I now go to the location and I scan the location. Okay, that is the right location, and then I'm going to scan now the product. So what I'm going to do now is I'm first going to scan the barcode on the product of the later best before date, and he tells me indeed you cannot pick from this batch number and best before date. Okay, so now I attempt and I scan the right product. Okay, this is the correct one, and he asks me now to specify the serial numbers range that I'm going to pick, or the serial numbers range that I'm going to pick for this sales order. So let me now say, okay, I'm going to scan the first, oh, just a moment, indicate serial numbers range. So I'm going to scan the first number and the second one. Okay, okay, so it is not the right one. Sorry, there is a problem here. So let me select a number here. This one, copy. And let's say that we also take, oh no, it's number 69. That we have to scan, just a moment, copy. And we scan also then number 100. Okay. No, there is definitely a problem. So I very much apologize. Something has, is it in this batch? Just a moment. Okay, sorry, I was scanning the wrong numbers. So these are the serial numbers that belong to the batch that I want to deliver. So I'm going to copy this one. And then I'm going to copy the other one as well. And then he says, okay, you have entered 5 serial numbers. Is this correct? Sorry for the confusion, but it shows you that there is effectively a check by the system on selecting serial numbers from the correct batch. And I was entering serial numbers from another batch. And so it has been done now correctly. Yes, here are the serial numbers. The items are picked now, and if I now return to my inventory report and I refresh it, he will now show that indeed on my picking card I have these 5 serial numbers that I have picked from the batch that I need to pick from. So what I'm going to do finally is that I'm going to pack these goods, because also in the packing process there will be a check by the system that I deliver the right serial numbers to my customer to ensure full traceability. So I'm going now to my packing station. I select my packing line. I enter my card manually. Okay. Then can decide whether I'm going to ship them on a logistic carrier. Let's suppose that I take a carton. I have now here my 5 products, and if I say, okay, I'm going to add these 5 products to my carton and create a new logistic unit, he again asks me to specify the serial number. So again, I can scan each serial number individually, or I can again enter a range. So let me do that again. So these are the numbers. So, but he asks me to specify them. So let me copy this one, go there and paste it. And let me scan this one and go here and paste it as well. Paste it. Oh, no, that's not the right information. Let's do it manually then. 2018 04 0010. Okay, you have entered 5 serial numbers. Is this correct? Yes. And now he will create the logistic unit. So he has created here a new number, and if I click on finish logistic unit, it tells me that I need to move it to my shipping dock 1, and then it continues. So he again now creates a shipping label, again with the information in human readable format, and also again in barcode. So the SCCC plus the GS1 128 barcode that identifies the product and its characteristics. So if I now go back to my RF terminal, I'm now going to conclude the outbound logistics process. So I'm going to shipping. On my shipping dock 1, based on a pick list, and there I've got my pick list. And now I scan again the the barcode of the logistic unit. The SCCC has been loaded, and at this stage the system is now adding a sales delivery note in sub-business 1, and it is creating also a delivery document. Now this delivery document can be personalized, it can be customized. So if you would like, for instance, also the serial numbers on here, that would be no problem whatsoever. And if we now turn to if we now turn again to the sales tab in business 1, we go to delivery, and then we see indeed that this is what we have delivered. And if we go on here, we can check the serial numbers that we have delivered to this customer. So this is at the business one level. But if we now go into the Produmex level, we have a traceability report, and we have for that traceability report a backward report for products that we want to trace back from the end product to the ingredients that have gone in there, or a forward report. So let's take a forward report, and then we can look for our product here. Okay, and what we will then see is we will get an overview of all batches of this product that we have had in our warehouse. And we have, for each of these, we have the overview of the goods receipt, of deliveries that have been made, and for every delivery we know which serial numbers are have been delivered. But not only do we know that, we know also on which logistic unit these goods have entered our warehouse, and we know also on which logistic unit these goods have left our warehouse. So we have at all stages, we have a link between the goods receipt and the outbound logistics. And if we then need to ensure, so if we have, for instance, a quality problem with a certain product, so I don't know whether we've got one here. It would be registered here in quality status changes. So for this product, we have had none. And so we have had none. If we would have a quality problem, we could immediately do a recall of the product. So here you see here the receipt of this product, of this batch that we have just shipped out, and we see also here the deliveries that we have done from it. So this concludes the presentation and demonstration of serial item management, batch managed and serialized item management in regulated industries. I hope this was of interest to you, and the recording of this webinar will be soon made available on the Boyum website. So thank you for your attention, and look forward to welcoming you at another time and during another webinar. Thank you.